I did.
Hey, call me.
It's like you're gonna make me more now.
I'll give me more besides that.
I'm in here like already crazy, and then he's like,
Good, you
No, wait.
Is good? All right. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular Borough Council meeting of January 23rd, 2023 to order. This meeting has been properly advertised in the Home News Tribune of January 6, 2023, according to Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Collins?
Here.
Councilman O'Donnell?
Here.
Councilman Peretti?
Here.
Potter?
Here.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Here.
Council President Zambrana?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Please rise and join me in a moment of silence, followed by a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So now I'm going to come down here because we have a nice occasion. We are going to give the oath of office to Aaron Wackenheim, so his wife and children and anyone that wants to join us at the podium will please join. Congratulations. Pass the floor.
Raise your right hand. Would you like to, you know.
All right.
It's like,
How's that?
I'm on my other left. All right.
Ready? All right, so please repeat after me. I, Eric Wackenheim,
I, Eric Wackenheim,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United
and in
States
this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of sergeant
perform all the duties of sergeant
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
oh, no, I'm good. I'm actually, pictures. A moment for pictures. Oh, Eric, congrats. Yeah. I know. Oh, there we go. It's like, no, well, she put it back, no, we won't have it.
One more.
No, I don't need them, it's fine, that was just for, yeah, I had an extra one signed, so.
Awesome. Awesome. Congratulations, Sergeant. Congratulations. You're going to be next.
They have dinner reservations, so enjoy your party.
Nice, small, intimate family dinner.
No worries. Enjoy.
Good night.
Okay, so congratulations again. And now we will move on to a presentation. We have the Milltown Little League here, and the Little League president, Bob Sandwalt, will start to make the presentation.
Slide down, Mike.
You might want to wait 1 minute, Bob, till they all go. Yeah, when they're, yeah.
So that everybody can see.
Good evening.
Good evening, Bob Samuel, 8 Royal Court. Madam Mayor and Council, good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Bobby Samuel, and I'm the current president of the Milltown Little League. I think you're going to be very happy with what we are presenting tonight as our plans to improve Milltown's most trafficked park, Gloria Bradford Park. We have been fortunate enough to raise funds these last couple of years through fundraisers and have the monies to pay for this proposed project in its entirety to improve the borough's park. We again can't thank you all enough for all your efforts throughout these last couple of years to give our kids lights on Field 2, and now we would like to improve the grounds that these lights cover. So you guys all have your packets. Could you turn to page 4 and we'll be able to proceed. So the first thing that we feel needs to be addressed is the path that leads to Field 2. The blacktop path is currently 25 feet wide at the beginning near the parking lot and shrinks all the way down to 2 feet wide as it approaches Field 2 at the very end. Our vision for that area is to repave it with proper fencing, making the area safer for pedestrians and players, as well as fixing this continued erosion problem that is causing the dirt from Field 2 to trail all the way into the Borough parking lot. Currently, the batting cage sits in that location of this proposed walkway. Therefore, the relocation of the batting cage is a necessary part of this proposed project. So if you all turn to page 5 in your packet, here you see a photo of the existing location and the newly proposed location. So right there is obviously where the current one is, that runs along the pathway. The parking lot's down here, Field 2 is here. So that's the existing one, so we plan on tearing that down and relocating it to this back corner over here, if you want to, which is this area as well in this shot. The brown shed sits here, and it would be run along that creek back there. So all the fencing and posts of the existing batting cage will be completely removed by the local contractor, Fences and More. The new batting cage will be located behind the Major League right field fence adjacent to the existing brown shed, which is where I just indicated. The dimensions of the new batting cage will be 50 feet by 15 by 20 feet smaller than the existing one, and will be 10 feet tall. This is also done by Fences and More. The base will be blacktop, completed by protective paving. That will be the base and the interior of the batting cage. The area of the demolished batting cage will be repaved with dimensions of 18 foot wide by 125 feet long. It's approximately 2,250 square feet. That work is also being done by protective paving. So with that, it will now allow pedestrians to walk along an 18-foot wide, newly paved walkway in between the fences, which will define both fields, Major and Field 2. So essentially, you'll have a fence that runs all the way down the stretch of the foul line. This existing batting cage will be removed. This will all be paved, and you'll have that between these two fences for pedestrians, spectators, players, and everybody to walk through.
Bobby, can I just ask you, do you
Absolutely.
want to as you go through each part, do you want to open it up for questions from the council then, or do you want to do the whole presentation and then have them ask everything at the end? What would
Whatever you guys feel is necessary, if you want to wait till the end, or do it as we go.
Does anybody have questions on
Let's wait
this
till
part?
the end.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so, we were talking about the pave, so major field, the 18-foot width will also allow township and emergency vehicles access if necessary. That'll be plenty of space for Ralph, the DPW, if there's, God forbid, if there's an emergency and, ambulance has to get down there, there'll be plenty of space. So that'll go, leads us into the newly proposed fence, so, that's all on page 7. If you want to turn to page 7. So the new proposed fence will create a safe space for people to walk between both fields. The new fence will be a black chain link fence, which is common in sporting facilities now. It's pretty much the standard. It's 4 foot high with galvanized poles 8 feet apart. The fence will be attached to the existing 18-foot high chain link fence on field 2, first baseline, and it'll be 150 foot long. The fence will stop 200 feet from home plate, so pretty much that'll be the outfield fence from home plate here on field 2, 200 feet down. That's how far it would run. The fence will run parallel with Major League Field first baseline fence, which will provide the 18-foot wide paved surface for spectators to watch the game on both Major and Field 2. That work is also being done by Fences and More. In addition to the newly proposed foul line fence, we would like to run a temporary fence from the end of that fence spanning to the third base foul pole. So if we turn to page 9 in your packet, we can talk about the temporary fence. So the temporary fence will run from the end of the proposed 4-foot chain link fence that will run consistently 200 feet from home plate and will end at the field 2 third baseline. So pretty much that black chain link fence, 4 foot high, will end around here, and from there around to the third baseline on the other side is the intention of the temporary fence. That fence is also 4 foot tall and can be removed at any time. The temporary fence will be inserted into the ground sockets as shown on the next page, which will be below the surface and have no impact on grass cutting. The next item will be a scoreboard for Field 2, which will be located near the light pole by Field 3, which leads us to page 11. So the new scoreboard will be 8 foot by 6 foot, and is pretty much the same exact one that's on, currently sits on the Major League Field. At this time, there will be no sponsor posted or advertised on the new scoreboard. It will sit approximately 10 feet from the left field light pole by Field 3 and not in the field of play at all. That scoreboard will be independently mounted and installed per code by R. Caruso's and Son, electrical contractor. The installations of the posts and footings will be done by local contractor Brown & Glenn. The scoreboard will be wirelessly operated from our newly proposed shed that will be located behind the backstop on Field 2, and that leads us to the shed behind the backstop on Field 2, which is on page 12. That shed will be 8 foot by 6 feet. The width of the backstop is 10 feet, so it'll be smaller than that. The shed will be on compacted stone base lined with railroad ties. The base of the shed will be constructed by Brown & Glenn. So I know there's a concern that if we put anything behind the backstop, that there won't be enough area for people to get from one side to the other, but that leaves, after we clear the brush, there'll be at least 20 foot from the back of the shed to the creek or any of that brush, which is hard to see in that shot, but. The shed is a pre-constructed item, and we plan on running electric to the shed via a junction box currently located on the newly installed light pole, and that will be also done by R. Caruso and Sons electrical contractor. Lastly, we'd like to have permission to replace any rusted or damaged fencing down at Field 2. That leads us to page 13 in the packet. As you can see from those pictures, the fences are rusted and very unsafe. Most of them are curling at the base, creating sharp edges and hazards. The ground in the dugout is uneven, allowing rainwater to pool in the center of the dugouts, and the benches that sit in the dugouts are very uneven and pretty loose. So that concludes the presentation. In closing, with your help, our goal is to improve the park for the players, families, and the town. This project will allow Milltown to host hopefully Spotswood High School games, similar to the boys' baseball game at Mitchell Field, along with the possibility of Joyce Kilmer Middle School games as well. And on behalf of the Milltown Little League Board of Directors, we appreciate your time and consideration. So on page 14, we have kind of like a diagram of the entire proposed project. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
What's going on the third base line?
Third base line, we would like to leave open because there's the hill that the kids slide along.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't want to infringe on that or, want to leave that for the kids in the town.
Only the scoreboard would be over there, Trina?
Yeah, that would be
Right.
more along the tree line and would not be in any field of play on field 3 or field 2.
And the batting cage is staying the same, or is it just one person batting, or are you?
Yeah, it's a single batting cage. The dimensions, it's going to be, the existing one is 70 foot long. This new one would only be 50 foot long, and it would sit adjacent to the brown shed
Right.
back here in this area.
So is that shed staying, or is
The
that?
shed is staying as is.
Okay.
That's for storage right now, right?
Yeah, we put the temporary mounds, we put all our liner, L screens, batting nets, all that gets stored in that brown shed there.
Council folks, any questions?
So I had the opportunity, thank you, first of all, Bobby, for that great presentation. The
Thank you for your
photos
time.
helped a lot. I was actually able to walk the field with one of my neighbors, Frank Calandruccio. And I think everything looks great. I just had one concern.
Okay.
So the concern is, as you get closer to field 2, where right after you cross where the current batting cages are, the erosion. So the conversation I had with Frank was, are we just going to pave over what's already there? And I think the answer I got was yes. But if we pave over what's already there, how do we know there isn't any structural issue underneath? So that, 3 years from now, we're going to have that same problem. And that was the only concern I had.
In terms of the erosion?
The erosion.
Well, hopefully paving that location and then setting seed and grass and having that fence will actually help the erosion.
And the reason I asked this question is because I kind of shared this presentation with our borough engineer,
Okay.
just to get his take, because when you go all the way down to the beginning, there's a lot of pooling that goes on there, right? So I think there's a pipe underneath there, but I'm not really sure.
That runs along that walkway?
All the way down, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any conduit that's under there, otherwise it would drain better. If there was a pipe under there, I don't think you would have that pooling and all that runoff on top of the pavement.
So Mike, hate to put you on the spot.
No, no problem. There's a pipe nearby. I'm not sure the name
Okay.
exactly.
There is a catch basin in this corner,
Yeah.
and that's where all the water pools. And I believe that catch basin also might need to be cleared because a lot of that water just sits there. Even when the weather gets really cold, it actually ices up and it's almost like a mini skating rink.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that there's, I could be wrong, I don't know the engineering of the field, but I don't think there's a conduit that runs. Because if there was, I think it would drain better.
So I think the answer is one could be installed.
One could be installed.
There's a pipe not too far away. One can be installed.
Yeah.
But if, so when your paving company comes in, if they pitch it correctly, that the water isn't gonna, if it's pitched towards Major League or pitched towards the park and it's all running away from it, you pitch it differently to keep it, like the water and the dirt on closer to field 2. Would that help with that erosion, Mike? You just pitch it, like if you do repave on top of it, but you have a better actually grading level
This erosion is common at the joint between the grass and the clay infields. It's not anything that is unique to Milltown. It's a very common thing. There's a couple ways to fix it. You try to put a drainage inlet in, or you basically regrade it and maintain it. So it's, really one of those things that needs to be looked at. You could put a drain in, it would solve the problem, but the other way is to try and basically maintain it. The clay infield, basically, just by virtue of the fact it's clay, when it gets wet, it begins to erode like it is. And, it's a common thing. That joint is always a problem, no matter which field you're on, when you have drainage running in that direction.
Yeah, well, it actually causes a safety concern, because, and the way it sits and the way it's been sitting for the past years that I've been involved, it causes a big cavern, and
It's a problem. The tripping hazard is what it is, yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Well,
And it hasn't been addressed, so hopefully with the pavement and with stone or something along that line, it would hopefully limit that erosion and keep everything, it would let the water, seep downhill, but the sand and the clay itself would stay on the field.
It's a function of the way the field drains. It's not, nothing to do with Milltown. It's just that field happens to drain from home plate out towards the parking lot.
Right.
And when you have water running along clay, you get that kind of, it's called a rivulet. So, there's one, as I said, two ways to.
So what was the concern?
Well, I think the issue is
So
you got an
what would
erosion.
be to run a line?
You could, yeah. Drainage inlet could be put in there.
If I may, we have a drainage inlet that's over at one of the other fields closest to Violet Terrace and to the parking lot, and I believe that drainage inlet is actually located within the field of play, which creates even more of a hazard. So, I applaud the Little League's work here and willingness to put forth funds and improve the park. It's something that we should have done years ago, I think, honestly. And I think in the future, if we have pavement, we could probably run a trench drain or something along the edge of the existing pavement or the proposed pavement there. But I don't want to halt any sort of progress by trying to reinvent the wheel at this time.
Not to delay this at all. I think it's a great presentation. It's just,
Yep. And I'm sure
it's solve two problems at the same time. Why not?
And I'm sure their contractor will compact those soils prior to putting asphalt down. They're not just going to throw it down haphazardly.
No, it'll be done,
Yep.
right,
Well, that's why we have professionals coming in to do it, right?
correct.
Do we know when's the best time to start this project?
The paving itself needs to be done with the proper weather. You can't have it going
Right.
hot and cold, so hopefully, early to mid-March,
Okay.
the paving could be done.
Okay.
The fencing could be done at any time.
Right.
The scoreboard could be done pretty much at any time. The new batting cage. Just the paving is really the weather
That's
temperamental.
Yeah.
So I have a question about another part of the proposal, and it's that temporary fence. So I know you said it can be removed at any time, and when I first heard about this, temporary fence and everything, my expectation was not any time, it was every time that it was used. So what's realistic in terms of that fence being up and taken down? Does the storage shed have the capacity to put it away, or does it coil up into one of the the pole? Like, what happens to this when you do take it down?
So essentially, it just comes out of the ground sockets that it's mounted to, and it rolls up. I mean, it's approximately 300 feet long, but it could also be taken down in sections and put in sections, and it would store right in that brown shed right there.
Okay, so that's part of the reason for the brown shed is to
Yeah, we
have a
use
home
that.
for it?
That storage shed is fantastic. We use that every night, taking bases out, taking temporary mound out, putting it back in at the end of the night.
Yeah.
So it would be the same deal for the fence itself.
Okay, all right, so that was definitely one of my questions. The other was about, this you addressed, the proximity to the water. You mentioned the creek behind several times. Do you have any concerns about putting structures and whatever as close as you were talking about to the water?
So the footings for the new batting cage and the paving would all be done by the contractor's code. So if there's any setback or anything that needs to be done, it would be completely done by code, and the contractors would make sure that that was not an issue.
Yeah, I wouldn't want you to put something up and have it float downstream, you know?
No, great.
And I do think, not to interrupt you, Mike, maybe another question. I know, and I had the pleasure of walking the field with Bob and Will as well, and also kudos, great presentation. I think it's deceptive in some of the overhead pictures of how much space we have back there because there's leaf and ground cover. So I think once that ground stuff is cleared out, which is a good raking, I think it's going to be deceptive. Like, we have way more space to the creek. than
Right,
a lot of
we're
people
well
assume.
off that with any new proposed project or any part of this
I had a
presentation.
very similar concern, but once I saw it, I was like, oh wait, this is all leaves, this isn't actually the bank yet, so.
Right, there's a lot of brush and just debris that's sitting there. Once it's cleared, you're not gonna be, we'll be well off that creek or any issues.
And what is the Little League's expectation of the borough that this is all put there? Is it ours to maintain? Is it yours to maintain? Is it, I think we had a little bit of a discussion last year about something to that effect, and I'm looking at our borough attorney, because I remember you bringing this up, is this a donation to us? Is this yours on our property and all that? So did we sort those issues out?
I don't know that we have, but I think once you guys put the improvements in, you have no expectations of ownership of the improvements, correct?
No,
Yeah, they're just like everything else, you're gonna use them and,
correct. And anybody else, if, a men's softball league or to use for Joyce Kilmer middle school games, it's, as long as the schedule allows it, we put our games in prior to the season, and beyond that, it's the town's property, it's the town's park. It's for the kids, it's for the families, it's for everyone to use and enjoy. We're just trying to improve it,
This feels like an Eagle Scout project with adults. And I know we have Eagle Scouts and Scouts here, so when you guys get older and you do your presentations, by all means follow what Mr. Samwell did, because you guys did a great job. I'm happy to see these improvements coming along. As a father who coached all too often, when we're warming up along that first baseline, the ball's going over and hitting people as they're trying to walk down to get their seat for the game. There's really nowhere to sit with the batting cage located where it is, and it obstructs the view of both Major League and the other play. I think the temporary fence does a nice job of keeping people out of the field of play during the games as well, because we see that too, is folks cutting across the field in the middle of play. So kudos to you guys for taking on this initiative and improving the park. I for one, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Bobby, I'd like to echo those sentiments of being on the board of directors. I know what you guys have to go through, and these improvements have been needed for quite some time. So we applaud you and your committee and the league for proposing this to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a question, now that you have the lights as an added addition for the softball field, how many more games are you having? So will you be having tournaments, or will you be using it much more of the year? Yeah, I know you can do fall ball and, or if you have high school games or middle school games, have you added a lot to your schedule to have evening games, or haven't you figured that out yet?
So, being that we kind of had it for the first time this past fall, we were able to go past the normal 5 o'clock sundown,
Right.
which was always an issue for fall ball, because we weren't really able to do much, so that was a pleasant addition, and that was the first time we kind of got to experience it. Moving forward, we haven't really set the schedule for the spring yet, because we're still working on registration and all the numbers, but yeah, like the Spotswood softball high school game would be great to have under the lights, in addition to what we haven't done in the past. And then beyond that, it's really just the same schedule.
Oh, okay.
that
I
we
wasn't
have.
sure if you were gonna change, like, take some people off of field 3 and put, like, back-to-back games or something like that.
Yeah, if it allows it, we would love to use that field more, but it's not gonna be
Okay.
it's not gonna look any different than really what we've done in the past.
Speaking of 3 and 1, does
Mm-hmm.
the temporary fence have any impact at all to
No,
that?
so field 3 is predominantly used for the rookies, which I don't really think that they,
No homers come out.
not that often. And field 1, it's well beyond anywhere near any issues that you would have playing both 1 and 2 at the same time.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah,
Anyone
Bobby,
else?
I like how you also said JK too, because I know JK plays behind their school. I know that they have those buildings there now. Be nice to open it up, so.
Yeah, speaking from a town member that currently has a child on the JK softball team, well, hopefully this spring. I think they would benefit from using Field 2 at Gloria Bradford Park as opposed to playing at that dilapidated field. Not to insult anyone, but the condition at Joyce Kilmer is not great,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah, and that's been the same for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
our girls played on that field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's no outfield fence, the building is in right field,
Yeah.
there's a sidewalk, it's a dead ball if anybody, the ball rolls up on it, it's not ideal,
No.
to say the least.
Anybody else have any more questions? All right, well, thank you very much for the excellent presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Much appreciated.
Appreciate it.
I just have one housekeeping question with regards to this, and I think we have the answer, but just to make sure. So now that we have the presentation, this would be put on as a resolution, I'm assuming for the next council meeting to vote on and whether or not to approve them to do these improvements. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
like all presentations, any action that has to be done afterward would be done in the next week, and then it would be put on for the next meeting.
For the following meeting?
Correct. So if there's any other questions or anything comes up, we'll follow up.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll move on to the approval of minutes from the December 12th, 2022 meeting. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, make a motion that these minutes be approved as typed.
Second?
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilman Revelinsky. Any comments or corrections? Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. And then we have the approval of the minutes from the January 2nd, 2023 meeting. And I have a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman O'Donnell, second by Councilman Revelinsky. Any comments or corrections on that? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we'll move on to the comments from the audience on resolutions. If any member of the public wishes to speak on any of the resolutions, please identify yourself to the clerk and say your name and address for the record. These comments are limited to resolutions listed on the agenda. Seeing none, I will close audience comments and move on to bills and claims. Will the clerk please read by title only, Bill Resolution 51, 2023?
51, 2023, resolution is authorizing the payment of bills, claims, and statements against the Borough of Milltown in the total amount of $5,878,895.89.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Peretti, second by Councilman Potter. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I have a question on page 11. It says $185,939.11 on milling and paving by the county. Do you know where that was?
Well, so in 2022, part of the capital program was to have this paving done. There was, I believe, 4 or 5 streets. Unfortunately, off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what streets
Blueberry,
they are.
Riva.
Ackerman,
A portion of Ford Avenue.
portion of Ford Avenue, yep.
Did they get paved?
Yes.
Yep.
They did get paved, okay. It's just asking. That's all.
I actually had a question as well with regard to some of the invoices from Suppley Cooney, and I noticed that they're providing financial advice on electric and water and sewer, but I'm curious as to why it indicated SAC as well. Is that an acronym for something else, or is that for school-age childcare? Because it's,
Well, that's what that was. I don't know which invoice you're talking. So with their invoices, because they are, was that from 2022?
yeah, but I believe, didn't we get rid of SAC?
Well, that was in 2022. So a portion of the bills would have been charged to that budget, but going forward, they will not be.
Okay, yeah, I'd have to look at the page. That was my question, is why are we still looking at SAC
No,
when it's been gone since
That won't
September?
be part of the 2023 budget.
Okay.
So in other words, SAC had money coming in, so that was something.
Yeah, it's just all part of when we do some of the billing, it hits different accounts, because realistically, it covers the entire budget. So whether it's utilities or not. So yes, I would agree with you for 2023, no, because that's the school-age childcare, and that's no longer part of the budget. But it was part of 2023 budget.
Yeah, I just noticed, we didn't have SAC since, I don't even think we
Right,
had it over the summer.
yeah,
So
since June.
to see it even as
Yeah.
recently.
Yep,
Thank
just
you.
the allocations that they're supposed to use.
Anything else? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next we have the introduction of resolutions. When voting on resolutions, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and, having been reviewed by the Borough Council, will be enacted by one motion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and if so removed, will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds. Are there any questions, or does any council person want to pull any resolution from the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull Resolution 070-2023.
Okay,
I'd also like to see 64 and 56.
64 and 56. Okay. Anything else? All right. So, will the clerk please read the consent resolution?
Whereas pursuant to the rules of council, the council may establish a consent agenda for any regular or special meeting, and whereas the Borough Clerk has posted a consent agenda for this meeting, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, that the consent agenda previously prepared by the Borough Clerk be approved without the necessity of having the individual resolutions read by the Borough Clerk.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I'd make a motion that these resolutions be adopted.
Second?
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Any discussion? Okay, so will the clerk please call the roll?
This will be a roll call to approve the resolutions between 052, 223 through 71, with the exclusion of 056, 064, and 070. Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Will the clerk please read Resolution 056, 2023 by title?
056, 2023 is a resolution granting authority for approval of certain purchases through New Jersey state contracts and/or purchasing cooperatives for the year 2023.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
I move that we adopt.
Second.
A motion by Councilwoman O'Donnell, second by Councilman Peretti. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I asked for this one to be pulled because I am a little bit confused on this one, and my gut tells me that it might have to do with just including the phrasing regarding the QPA, but I was under the impression that we've been able to perform purchasing through state co-ops and others regardless of the threshold if it was an item stated within those contracts. So I'm curious as to why we're acknowledging this now with resolution.
Yes, so there, it is because of the QPA.
Just to identify them. And is that part of their standard services for the
Yes.
the 10,000 per year?
Yes.
No additional fees to us for that?
Anyone else? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilwoman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Motion carries to pass 056, 2023.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read Resolution 064, 2023 by title?
Bill 64, 2023 is a resolution providing for salaries to be paid to non-union borough-appointed officials and employees for the year 2023.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that this resolution be adopted.
A second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I asked for this one to be pulled because the format of this looked very similar to something that we just approved at the August 15th meeting in 2022. It was Resolution 200-2022. In reviewing those, and I understand that we need to approve one of these for the salaries and wages of 2023, I did notice that the Borough Administrator and Chief Financial Officer are not indicated on the current resolution, but were included in the resolution from 2022, so I'm asking why that was omitted from the current resolution before us.
So we'll be looking at a new contract for 2023. So that would, her new contract wasn't finalized, so we'll have to do that in a separate resolution.
Was that contract expired already?
There was no contract.
So if we're going to do a contract, we need to start this year with the Personnel Committee to do that.
And for the other department heads and employees indicated on this, did they all have contracts as well?
No.
So we're approving it for them, but not for the other two positions because of a contract? I'm a little confused. Why are we not doing contracts for all, or why are we selecting one instead of all?
Well, it's typical for your police chief and your administrator to have contracts. When I began working here, a contract wasn't offered. And so at this point in time, we'll be looking to put a contract forward so that it won't be under the same.
We're giving a little flexibility to the Personnel Committee to work on that, basically.
And is there another contract that's currently still outstanding? Do we have an update on that, or do we have to go to closed session for it?
Which,
It's still under negotiation, talking about the PBA contract.
yeah, we just met about that right before. We're making progress. Anyone else? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
No.
And Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And next, will the clerk please read 070-2023 by title?
070-2023 is a resolution authorizing professional planning services for the Main Street Rehabilitation Plan.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilman Peretti. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I pulled this resolution because it's rather vague about the contract for the planner, and also I was wondering if this went out to bid to other firms.
So, no, it did not.
Why is that?
We received a proposal from the town planner.
And only the town planner? Was anyone else invited to provide a proposal?
No.
Well, I can't support this, so, sorry.
I had another question on this, and I'm actually glad Councilman Collins pulled it, and I'm just looking for my notes here, but I do recall off the top of my head that we approved a budget of $6,400 sometime last year to prepare a plan, or to present a plan to prepare a plan, is that?
To do the study.
And then we got some
With the
to
study.
provide a study about developing a plan.
Correct.
So we provided a study to develop a plan, and now we're planning to have a plan, with no other bids or pricing.
This seems like a lot of money, up to $34,000 for a planner for just, what, a couple blocks in town? And it's non-binding, right?
It's not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed $34,000. That's a lot of money for just one contract for a planner. I don't understand this. It seems like it's just not a frugal way to spend your money, town money, I should say.
Actually also curious about to the extent of this plan. John asked if it was binding. I'm wondering how far we go with this plan, because to just have a document sitting in front of us to review in the future, I don't know if that, what good that does us for $34,000. I just feel like we keep, holding that carrot out in front of us, and I'm wondering where it's going.
What carrot?
The carrot of a plan, the plan of a plan.
So, he's the borough's planner. So, first of all, would you want someone else besides the borough's planner to work on your planning?
I think there's qualified planners throughout the state that, if they were invited, probably would have been glad to put together a proposal for us.
Somebody that's been, working on with your planning board for longer than I've been here, right?
Well, you look at the salaries on here, and it says month one, they're gonna have initial public participation in the session, and the salaries go from $175 to $110 an hour, and they're gonna sit here listening to public participation. And then it says second public participation on 3. So they're gonna be sitting here getting these rates to sit there and listen to the public comments?
John, you did look at the presentation that he gave
Yes,
in 22?
yes, I was here for that meeting.
Okay. Did you have any issues with that proposal, with that presentation?
Yeah, I did. He just said, we're gonna make, look at it, but he's not solving the problem. This is like going to the doctor, and you walk in with a limp, and the doctor says, you got a bad leg, and then you go back out. You usually get a solution for the problem.
So, Councilman Rivalinsky, you signed off on that presentation when we had that presentation in the fall, right?
I did.
At that time, did you have any issues with where we're
I didn't find a
headed?
problem with this presentation at the
Right.
time, but moving forward, looking at $34,000 contract that is basically a no bid, and no one else was invited to participate, I think I have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask that you looked at that review of that presentation.
No, and I have no problem with the planner either themselves, but I think when we're looking at $34,000 and you've been with one person for so long, it's a good idea to explore alternatives.
Now, our annual bidding process included a bid for a planner,
For services.
and we selected this planner.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for
So
clarifying.
then why
that.
is this not included within that proposal?
So anytime we have, their proposal is an hourly fee. Right? So what I'm saying in general, when the contract is not for the job of planner, it is an hourly fee. And so for this particular project, which is a study, the study was conducted, and now the plan will be put in place to designate this area of rehabilitation. The reason for the public comment is to get their feedback on what perhaps they'd like to see happen along Main Street. And so we ask for a dollar amount, like we would do for the engineer, for capital projects and everything else, is this is the scope of the project, what is the not to exceed number, so that we can budget properly. So that's really what the purpose of that.
So to sum it up, the services provided under this resolution fall outside of those services commonly provided by the planner within their annual budget?
No, I would not say that. I would say this is a planning project, and it's not like this would be, I don't want to say that it's separate. It does certainly fall under what it is that they do, but much like any other professional, when there are certain things, we like to memorialize them in a resolution to have what the not exceed number to be is.
So in other words, he's not getting a yearly salary or anything, and this isn't an extra
No, he gets paid
job.
hourly
This
for
is-
whatever we need him
He
for.
serves on the planning board, and the reason that he would be at the public meetings is if people have questions about planning and/or zoning. Now, we couldn't have it be that, he's working, a year on this, and then all of a sudden the fees go through the roof, so this is not to exceed. If he only works 5 hours on it, then he's only getting paid his hourly salary times 5.
Correct.
So it's really to protect the borough's budget that we're not going over, which we don't anticipate that we're even gonna, come close to that. But we'll keep our eyes on it. And that public meeting should be hopefully coming up fairly soon. And we don't want to have the public come and ask us questions, because we're not planners, and we'll go, oh, no, well, we're going to have to get back to the borough planner and get back to you. That way, he's here and can address the questions right away.
And hear and process the ideas that are put forth.
Exactly.
And incorporate them into the plan.
Exactly, yeah. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Collins?
No.
Councilman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Sorry.
Councilman Potter?
Yes.
Councilman Revelinsky?
No.
Council President Zambrana?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance introduction. There will be no public input on the introduction of ordinance 23-1519. The introduction summary will be published in the Home News Tribune on January 27th, 2023, and second reading, public hearing, and final adoption will be considered on February 13th, 2023. Full copies of the ordinance will be posted on the Borough website, on the bulletin board at the municipal building, and available at no cost in the office of the municipal clerk between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. 2315, an ordinance fixing the salary and wages of various employees of the Borough of Milltown and providing the manner of payment thereof. May I have a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 23-1519?
Motion?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Collins, second by Councilman Potter. Any comments or discussion from the council?
Yes, I'm just curious, I know this is common where we set the range for employees, but I've been with the Personnel Committee in the past, and we've discussed hiring new employees, and can you refresh my memory how this range impacts our ability to negotiate with employees or prospective employees if their desired salary falls within that range?
So most of the employees, there is no negotiation because there's contracts that cover them. So your blue-collar workers and your police all have in their contracts what salaries they would be paid based on, you know. And so then anyone that isn't covered under those, then the salary ordinance needs to provide an avenue. You would choose a number that falls within that range.
But we're not beholden to utilizing the maximum
No,
minimum or anything
absolutely
like
not,
that?
no.
We still have choice?
Correct, absolutely. And the ranges, as an aside, are generally far sweeping, and the reason that we do that is that we try not to, at this point, to not have to redo the salary ordinance over and over again. It's not meant to say, this is the top pay that somebody would get for.
And that's why I noticed, like, some of it's like, a $30,000 swing, and it just seems like
Yeah,
if
it's
someone,
just, it's meant so that,
demanded it.
that we can just pass the ordinance, once, but sometimes we add new positions, we have to redo it.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Motion carries to introduce ordinance 23-1519.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to council reports. We will start with the Department of Finance Administration and Planning, Councilman Phil Zambrana, Council President Phil Zambrana.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, very short finance report tonight. As a reminder to all on the council, we're in budget season. We've done a good job over the last couple of years putting together a budget after listening to all of our department heads, seeing what the asks are, and determining what we can do and what we can't do. So just keep that in mind. I do not have a senior center report tonight. Ford Avenue reorg meeting was held last week. We are welcoming two new members, Mr. Peter Mangarella and Mr. Jeff Massey. Unfortunately, I have to tell you that Mr. Borough has filed another lawsuit against the planning board and the governing body over the adoption of the amended redevelopment plan. And that happened this past fall. There is a decision that the judge will make on the appeal that Mr. Berger has filed. And just very summarily, the trial brief and all the transcripts and the exhibits are to be filed with the court by February 3rd. The defendants, Planning Board, Borough Redevelopment Agency, are to file their trial briefs and exhibits by February 24th. And any reply brief from Mr. Berger is to be filed by March 10th. So, short story is that this is basically an oral argument before the judge. So the judge is going to decide this, and these issues aren't really that complicated. So the assumption is that the judge will render his decision either at the conclusion of the trial or shortly thereafter. That concludes my Fort Avenue report. Cable TV Committee unfortunately could not hold a meeting last week, so we will hold our first meeting in February. That date may be changed, and it may be via Zoom or it may be in person. Please check on the website for that particular information. And then the Historical Preservation Committee, that meeting is this Thursday, January 26th at 7:30, and that will be via Zoom. All are welcome. And that concludes my reports, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the Department of Public Safety. Councilwoman Margaret O'Donnell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will begin with the police report, and I will say that I got a call that supplemented this report a little bit earlier today, and it was that Chief Kennelly regretted that he could not be here tonight for the swearing in. I wouldn't normally share this, but he said it was okay. He tested positive for COVID and did not want to expose all of us to that, but he definitely regretted seeing the promotion of Sergeant Muckenheim, and also to congratulate Corporal Hafner. The rest of the report includes wishing a happy, safe, and healthy new year to all of the residents. Between December 7th, 2022 and January 11th, 2023, police responded to 828 calls for service. During this period, police conducted 64 radar details in numerous locations. Police made 98 motor vehicle stops during this period. 5 arrests were made, which included shoplifting, aggravated assault, and weapons offenses. Police responded to 9 motor vehicle accidents, which included minor injuries. Utility work on Main Street will continue. Residents are reminded to continue to drive safely and use extra caution as utility and road work continue throughout town, and plan your commutes accordingly. We appreciate your cooperation and patience during these projects. Please report any hazardous traffic, safety concerns, and suspicious activity directly to Milltown Police Department at 732-828-1100. And I can say that works. One morning very early when I was out walking, I found a water main break, so I was one of those 828 calls that called that in. And we wish Chief Kennelly that he feels better. Moving on to the Milltown Fire Department, I have the last report from outgoing Chief Patala, because this covers December 2022. And I can actually do kind of a year-end summary for them. There were 25 drills in 2022, 12 meetings, 122 fire calls, 2 special assignments that included the tree lighting and pictures with Santa. 4, I went to art just this month. 2 special assignments in December. That's what they included, the tree lighting and the pictures with Santa. The work details include things like equipment checks. And in 2022, there were 44 of those special assignments, 47 work details, for a total of 250 incidents in 2022 that resulted in 4,416 man-hours of fire department activity. I don't know about the rest of you, but that sounded like an awful lot to me. Few other things from the fire department report. Elections were held and the following results. Ray Jolly was elected chief. Anthony Fama was elected deputy chief. Tony Karabinchek was elected assistant chief. Tom Dumansky was elected captain. Chris Corrigan was elected first lieutenant, and Brian Sudo was elected second lieutenant. There was some training. Brian Kozak completed an incident command training, and Tom Dumansky is also completing a different level of incident command at our Middlesex County Fire Academy. Ladder 73 went to the dealer to have its ladder checked after failing an annual test for drift. Unfortunately, the dealer was not able to replicate the issue, but it's still being checked there. In terms of buildings and grounds, the DPW provided touch-up paint for building maintenance, and as I knew would be the case, having served on the Public Safety Committee in the past, the addition of a QPA to the borough is something they are very happy about because it will lead to the arrangement of a contract to pour the footing for the moving of the monument in order to complete the project by Memorial Day of this year. And the most important part of their announcement was members are needed. Candidates interested in joining the Milltown Fire Department are encouraged to stop by the firehouse Monday nights at 6:30 or email joinmilltownfire@gmail.com. And I wanted to mention that I also called in one of the calls that the fire department had in December 2022. I was a busy girl when I'm walking about town. But I have to say, most impressive. They arrived like it was a military operation. We weren't sure where smoke was coming from, and they went out in pairs with flashlights and were examining people's eaves and yards, and they moved another fire truck around because it could have been coming from behind the houses. I was just so thoroughly impressed. And when we never found a fire, there was no one who was disappointed that there wasn't a fire. Trust me on that. But I kept apologizing to people, saying, "I'm so sorry I drew you out. It's cold, it's late, it's, all." And every single person, they may have used different words to say it, but they were like, "You should have called. You smell smoke, you see smoke, you call the fire department." They were glad I called, every version of that. And I was just really glad to see and hear that. But I'll try not to make it a habit of calling them out in the middle of the night in the cold. Okay, our Milltown Rescue Squad report was submitted by Captain Will Kaplan. In December 2022, Milltown Rescue Squad had an even 100 calls, and the 2022 yearly total was 1,192. It was one of the busiest years ever, with an increase of 176 calls over 2021. The squad welcomed several new members to the ranks. 4 members became EMTs, and very exciting, there was the purchase of a new to us ambulance that replaced the oldest one in the fleet, and there's been an addition to the building to accommodate larger apparatus. Milltown Rescue Squad wants to welcome J.J. Blackmeyer into his new role as president. J.J. has been a member for over 20 years and has served as a trustee for the past decade. Will Kaplan will continue to serve as captain, beginning his 5th year in the role. This is so nice. They wanted to welcome me as the new liaison for 2023. Aww. And they look forward to working with myself and with the rest of the Public Safety Committee, which consists of past liaison Dave Potter and Councilman Rafalinsky. But they'd also wanted to thank Councilman Potter for serving as the Milltown Rescue Squad liaison last year, and particularly for all the support.
My pleasure.
And the Public Safety Committee will be visiting with the Milltown Rescue Squad tomorrow night, and we're really looking forward to a tour of the facility and getting to meet some of the members and hearing about all the things that that we don't know that they do and go underappreciated. And that concludes my reports. You're probably all happy to hear. Great, thank you.
Next, we'll move on to the Department of Utilities. Councilman Dave Potter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I have 3 reports to report on this evening. The first report is from our electric department. Streetlights were repaired at the following locations: William Street, West Church and Scott Avenue, Elm Street, Harkins Road, Kearney Drive, Herbert Avenue, and Clay Street. Holiday decorations were taken down. Numerous work orders associated with billing issues were completed, and final readings of closed accounts were performed. Regarding the substation, daily checks were performed. Maintenance of egress lighting is continuing. Containment cells, sump pumps were checked for proper operation. A new service was provided for a new dwelling on Miller's Lane. A new service drop was installed on Clay Street. The relocation of the service conductors was completed at the Kessler Physical Therapy Building on Riders Lane. The new service equipment was installed and inspected, utility wired up, and the CT cabinet and meter pan. Several poles were inspected for safety issues. A pole on Garrison Circle is scheduled to be replaced. A house on North Main had partial power. The service drop was repaired. A pole was hit on North Main and Pardon Avenue. This was done at the end of December. Utilities worked with 1 hour with the contractors on the pole transfer. There were no outages. Inventory was reviewed and necessary materials ordered. Utilities assisted the billing department with customer issues. Several electrical meters were replaced, and the trailer for the Boy Scouts was disconnected for the annual Christmas tree sale, and I hope it was very profitable for the Boy Scouts this year who were with us. My second report is from our Water and Sewer Department. The Water and Sewer Department continues to conduct mark-out requests for PSE&G. The long-awaited shipment of water meters, which was almost a year, has arrived, and we will begin to do the requested installations. An additional order has been placed to keep stock at an adequate level. A water main break was repaired on Washington Avenue with the help of our own laborers and an operator from DPW. A water main break was repaired on Crestwood and First Street. Monitoring of a sump pump stations occur on a regular schedule. The next 2 mixers, which keep the sludge moving to prevent buildup, were installed in the Church Street pump station. And Madam Mayor, my final report is from the Planning Board. The Planning Board reorg occurred on January 4th. I would like to congratulate Joe Pietanza for being selected as chairman and James LeBond for being selected as vice chairman, and all of our professionals were also approved. And just to note that our next meeting, for which we'll continue the discussion for the Riders Lane Apartments, will be on Thursday, February 16th at 7 p.m. here at Borough Hall, which was moved from February 8th, which was discussed at the last meeting. So just please note, it's going to be on February 16th at 7 p.m. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you. Next, we have the Department of Public Works and Recycling. Councilman Rich Revelinsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I get into the official report provided by our DPW director, I just want to say that Councilman Potter and I started the year off pretty strong with our DPW director. Mr. Jesnowski helps oversee both utilities and DPW, and we thought it best to have a joint meeting, see what some of his needs are and what he has coming up for the year so we can help prepare with some of the budget needs. Moving on. All indoor and outdoor holiday decorations at Borough Hall have been removed and stored until next season. Leaf cleanup at Michelin Field and Albert Avenue Park has been completed. The DPW assisted the Water Department with a water main break on Washington Avenue by providing laborers and an operator. Mulch has been spread at the Borough Hall. A basketball pole and backboard has been installed at the new asphalt area at Michelin Field. Quarterly concrete pickup is now complete, and the next pickup is scheduled for April 10th to 14th. Residents should call the DPW to be placed on the list, extension 136. Trees have been removed on Harkins Road, North Moats Drive, and Herbert Avenue. There are additional shade tree applications which have been approved, and work will be performed as manpower permits. Pothole repair throughout the borough is ongoing, and the annual Christmas tree curbside collection has been completed for this year. I think I got mine out just in time. Respectfully submitted by Ralph Jesnowski, DPW Director. I would like to add that, before I get to it, I'll mention it later on as well, is that in our meeting, Dave and Councilman Potter and I did take a tour over here of the old DPW building and looked at some of the work needed to do, and the DPW is in some of their time over the winter cleaning that area up in hopes that we can devise a plan for that area later on. I also have the library report for this evening. I had the pleasure of attending their January 10th reorganization meeting, a few minutes late due to a time conflict, but in addition to election of officers and designations, I'd like to announce the following library events. Tomorrow, Tuesday, January 24th at 6:30 p.m., there will be an open open mic night at the library. I'll be going to practice my public speaking. Share your talent, your poems, and your music with attendees. On Saturday, January 28th, the upcycle and making self-watering pots will be held at 1 p.m. On Monday, January 30th, music at the library. For the second time, we welcome guitarist Ken Leland at 6 p.m. Tuesday, January 31st, adult yoga. It will be at 9:15 a.m. This is not through the Recreation Department, so if you'd like to indulge in some adult yoga, I know I need it, just call the library. Do not go on to Community Pass for this event. Lastly, Tuesday, January 31st, book club, which is their group club name is Catch 22, will hold their meeting at 6:30 p.m. And that concludes my reports.
Great, thank you. Next, we have the Department of Environmental, Health, and Social Services, Councilman John Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I only have a short report for the Board of Ed. There was discussions about the half-day schedule for June. It was tentatively half-day on Friday the 16th and half-day on Monday the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st, half-days. And that was and they said the election place has not been changed from GAK. And I'd like to welcome Laura Skamaka, who's our new council member, and Patty Timpson will be our liaison. And congratulations to Gail Kochek from Parkview and Ariella Weinstein from JK for being selected as staff members of the month. That concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we have Department of Recreation, Councilman James Quay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, for the official recreation report, youth basketball started this past Saturday, January 21st. As mentioned in Councilman Revolinsky's DPW report, the Public Works removed the basketball stanchions from the old basketball court in the left field foul territory of Michelin Park and added a new basketball stanchion on that newly paved court that doubles as a pickleball court behind center field. New after-school programs will be starting at the end of the month. Programs will be held at the Borough Senior Center. For more information, please visit the Borough website and go to Community Pass. Continue to look for additional updates for recreation as well as other Borough departments on the newly installed Borough electronic display board outside of Borough Hall. And important announcement, the summer employment applications will start February 13th. And those applications for our summer employment are only going to be accepted via the online application. So there's an online application on the Borough website. Speaking of the Borough website, please be sure to visit the recreation webpage at milltownnj.org to familiarize yourself with the upcoming programs and new activities along with park locations. The Recreation Department added a new website subpage under Recreation titled Park Improvements. Be sure to follow along during construction to see the before and after photos for the locations that were enhanced. And also should be a thank you to the DPW who does a lot of work with Rec to make those park improvements. Please help continue to make Milltown Recreation a community in motion. And then a couple short committee reports, starting with the Recreation Advisory Committee. That committee met on January 18th for the first meeting of the year. We welcomed back existing members and welcomed in a few new members. At the meeting, we had the opportunity to review the wins in 2022 and began setting our goals for 2023. The committee will be focusing on bringing better communication to the residents about our recreation department and the many things it has to offer, while also working with Ron, our recreation director, on new ideas that the committee thinks can enhance the experience for residents of all ages. Stay tuned for more information on that front. For those who want to learn more, we meet the third Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. in the Borough Conference Room. Next, moving on to the Revitalization Committee, we had our first meeting of the year on January 10th. We also had the pleasure to welcome back a lot of familiar faces while also welcoming a few new members to the committee. We spent most of the first meeting reviewing our goals for the 2023 calendar year and starting to pick out projects to work on. The committee always does a great job hosting Milltown Day, and we look forward to not only putting on that wonderful event, but also continuing our improvements to the Milltown Main Street Planter Program and working on additional projects to revitalize our borough's Main Street corridor. For anyone interested in getting involved with the Revitalization Committee, we meet the second Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. via the Zoom link that can be found on the borough calendar. And last but not least, the Human Relations Committee. We unfortunately couldn't meet this month due to scheduling conflicts, but we look forward to having our first meeting of the year on February 7th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. We will continue with shaping out our 2023 project goals and deliverables, particularly focused on an inclusive mural project that they started last year. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next, Administrator, any report?
I do have a couple of things. For one, I would like to, happy to report that the new website design is complete and up and running. So if anyone has not had an opportunity to view the website, I recommend that you do. There's a few interesting tabs that have been added. One is for new residents, and we will continue to build and add items in that section to help any new residents in town. So very excited about that. Also, I don't want to steal the mayor's thunder, but I just want to put it out there, I'll let her go further, that the town first ever Milltown calendar has been created. It was at the printers, it should be in the mail, and hopefully you should be receiving them in the coming week.
So you're getting 11 months, not...
Well, yes.
That's right.
And just one of the things to be mindful on the calendar is that garbage collection, there is a spreadsheet on the back of the next to the last page of the calendar that kind of spells out every street and what route you're on. I know that was one of the things that we had a lot of questions when the new residents come in and they ask the tax office, so I thought that that's something that could be very helpful as well.
Yep.
That concludes my report.
Thank you.
Jeanette, I also want to add that one of the residents did a report of concern, and they were very impressed with the turnaround
Wonderful.
on the report of concern. So recommend all residents, if you see an issue, just put a report of
Yes.
concern so it's documented.
You will get a response, that's for sure.
Engineer, Mr. McClellan?
Yes, Madam Mayor, just a very short report tonight. We are nearing completion with this year's water system improvements project. Accordingly, we'll contact Councilman Potter to schedule a meeting of the Department of Utilities to review the plans. That's all I have.
That's all.
Yeah,
And
Look
you
forward
have
to
a-
that meeting.
You have a meeting scheduled this week, right?
Yeah, but not with.
Oh, okay.
no.
Okay. Attorney, anything to report?
No report.
Okay. So yes, Jeanette did steal my thunder a little bit, but I will just expand
I
on
kept it brief.
So she shared.
Just in case.
The calendar only came up right at the end of the year. We thought it was a good idea because we want to, make, one of the things that I hear a lot is people are looking for information. We get a lot of questions about when is this, or why didn't I hear about that? So the calendar obviously is a proactive thing, so you know all of the information that the borough shares on the website, but this is just a handy way to have it. So it didn't really come about till late in the year. The BA shared it with all the council people last week. We all agreed, and so it'll be going out to everyone. And, you know, it's good news about the website. It's a work, if we welcome feedback, if there's something that you see that you want to give us feedback or, you know, ideas on, we'd be happy to hear from you. And I was also going to request that maybe at some upcoming meeting in February, we could just have a little demo, because really the features that we have in there, like report of concern or set up alerts, will help everyone get the information that you're looking for. You can tailor it to what you want to know, and we can sort of share the ways to find out, you know, when your garbage collection is, how to get set up for nixles, how to report a concern. So maybe we'll do a little presentation at an upcoming meeting, but in the meantime, click on and take a look and let us know what you think. The third thing is a little ways off, but I'll give you a little heads up to save the date. I don't have the exact date, but at the beginning of May, we will be doing a day to honor our former mayor, Gloria Bradford. I have been in contact with her daughter regularly, so the beginning of May will mark 1 year since her passing. It's also her birthday, so we are planning to have a Mayor Bradford Day at Bradford Park. We are also going to name her street, give a little sign there, and there's some other things planned, and they would like a portrait hung here. And with that, since we will be hanging a portrait of Mayor Bradford, I'm going to take on the project to see if we can get some of our other past mayors' portraits as well. I think it would be a nice way to honor her as well as some of the other public servants that have served our borough over the years. So look for that coming up in the next few months. And with that, we'll move on to old business. Does any member of the council have any old business to bring before us this evening?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I have a question for Mike McClone about the Bog Brook. It seems like it's backing up now, and it's getting higher and higher. And I Google mapped it today, and it looks like the water is flowing into Milltown from the Beaver Dam Park. The whole stream is now flooded, and it's over where the trees are. And I'm afraid it's going to, if the trees die, the stream's going to start getting larger, and the banks will cave in. So is there some way we could have someone look at that? I had spoken to Mayor Cohn from East Brunswick when they opened the park, and he said they had the same problem with beavers in his park, and the residents were complaining about flooding in their basements, and there's a lot of people on Brook Drive now, their basements are having water problems. So I'm wondering is there anything you could do for us?
Well, we're happy to go out and take a look at it. The county does have some jurisdiction over the beavers and control. I know there has been some beaver issues. I think Ralph advises that. So maybe what we'll do is try Ralph first and see if Ralph's got any ideas. We'll give you a call.
Okay.
And if we need to go out there, we're happy to.
Yeah, because it seems like it's maybe 18 inches above the street now. If we get a hurricane or something, I don't know what's going to happen.
Milltown's not the only one. We had the beaver problem. Quite a different, a lot of towns that seem to be thriving. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thanks.
I'll add to that one, actually. Mike, we had a culvert that the county was planning to do there at the end of Colthau, if I'm not correct, right?
That's correct.
Any update on that? I believe, this was in the works years ago, and then it just kind of stalemated, and
Yeah.
I'm wondering if a continuation of clearing, that area, obviously Beaver Dam Park, and we had the beaver issues, as you know, if that could be somehow incorporated into that project, or if there's a time frame.
I'll check on it, absolutely.
Thanks, Rich.
Anyone else have any old business this evening?
I don't know if this one is old business or not, but I'll throw it out there because we had received as council members, and I believe yourself as well, Madam Mayor, an inquiry several months ago, perhaps even more than a year now, from a former resident whose father was once served as mayor. I don't know if we'll be able to get the portrait, but they requested a street to be renamed, and that street was Patain Avenue. And I don't know the whole history here, and perhaps some folks do, but apparently the street was named after Philippe Pétain, and that's my French accent for you, who then became the head of Vichy France during World War II. So he went from war hero to war zero, convicted criminal, spent his life in jail. So I think if we were going to rename some streets, and this also, I heard you mention Mayor Bradford as well, I think Patain would be one of those, and I'm wondering if we could entertain that notion and look forward to moving that.
That was, we're not renaming the street, we're just adding, sort of like Ariella Hopkins Way. It'll still be South Street.
Oh, South Street, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's gonna have a little thing on top. Yes, we did receive that, and that, as far as the Patain Avenue, that's been a long-going issue. I know people came to the council when Mayor Bradford was mayor to inquire about changing the name, and they were not successful. However, people have continued to come, and it's something that I have asked the Human Relations Committee and the clerk's office and a bunch of other folks to look into, because it's something that right when, in 2020, an eighth grade, the advanced eighth grade group had a presentation to give to Milltown to ask to change the name from Patain to something else. Unfortunately, that's right when COVID hit and we stopped doing the meetings in person. So they graduated and went off to high school and never got to do their presentation, but some people on the Human Relations Committee have some of the materials because the school people are involved in that. So James, do you want to?
Yeah, I know that's something the Human Relations Committee was looking into. Everyone agrees that definitely should change his name. I know at one point in time that came to a vote. It did not pass many years ago, but there was a little bit more that the HRC was trying to get, for lack of better expression, ducks in a row to try to make it seamless, working with the county, trying to figure it out. What cost to residents for changing addresses, changing licenses, and things like that. So they are doing some work in that committee, but that is something that will be coming up in 2023. That's one of their main projects this year. Yeah.
Oh,
I
interesting.
believe it goes to the federal level as well because of the post office and addresses.
Yeah,
I was curious what the process is and what it requires for us to
there's been
For two
get on.
houses, it's
work.
surprisingly humongous effort.
Okay. And there's like 4 houses on that street.
And does it,
Yeah, I thought it was
and does
only
it
2
start
with
with
the
us
address, yeah.
passing a resolution to change it, or do we need some sort of federal approval in order to pass a resolution saying we want to change it? Like, where does the process start?
I don't know the order, I just know that the post office became involved, and I think that they, at some point, had asked
I
the
think
residents.
ideally what
and-
will happen is it would come through the committee and then come to the council, and then we would do the resolution to move ahead with it, yeah. Yay or nay on that, which is what happened in the past, and they voted no, so then it would have to come back before us again, and we could say yes, and then we could proceed with the finishing up with it.
I guess I wasn't too far off in throwing this in old business.
Yeah, no,
then.
there you
No, okay. I'm going in old business, all right.
20 year, or 15.
Well, I look forward to seeing that then.
Any other old business? Okay, does any member of the council have any new business to bring before us this evening?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Several residents have approached me and asked if there's a way we could lower their water bills. So I guess Councilman Potter, we're having a meeting on Thursday.
Yes, so Councilman Collins, thank you for bringing that up. We could start talking about that in the meeting, but of course, as Council President Zambrano had indicated, we're in the budget review and all the department heads, so it's something that we will look into and see what we can do.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
I have an item of new business as well. Sure. I've received information about becoming a veteran-friendly community, and I looked over the information, and I'd like to refer it to the Administration and Planning Committee, if that's okay, with the committee chair, to take a look at becoming a veteran-friendly community.
Of course.
Okay, great, thank you.
Is anyone else?
I was just going to ask.
Okay.
Any
all
other
right.
new business?
Sorry, I wasn't sure if we were done or.
Okay, that
We're
was
done?
it.
Okay, that was an easy
Referral,
one.
and I'll send the information this way.
New business, I think that we as council, it would be in our best interest to open up the ordinances regarding utility connection fees. And the reason for that is because we've got some projects that are going to be coming along, or at least sooner or later. And the cost of these new meters, the cost of installing them, the labor associated, can be up there, especially if we're looking at 190 meters. That's a pretty penny to pay. So I think we should look at those connection fees for that initial connection and consider revising those and perhaps increasing them. I'm sure it's been several years since we've updated that to what would be like a market price these days. Additionally, I'd like to start the discussions with providing a public question for the 2023 ballot and whether or not the borough should pursue selling our water and sewer system, privatizing it. And the reason for that, I think we all know, is the ever-increasing cost of operating, our limited labor source or resources for operating such a system, especially at the age that we have in town. There's tremendous amount of problems. There's a tremendous amount of money that's going to be needed to improve our system, and I think we should really start looking into it and ask the public how they feel. So I'd like to get the council's feel on this and then see what we have to do about putting this on the ballot for 2023. I'm sure we've got deadlines approaching, so now might be best.
Your deadlines aren't approaching, you have time, just so you know. But certainly, the question can be placed.
Are you on the utility committee?
Nope, I was not put on the utility committee
Okay,
this year.
so I think.
Or
about-
finance.
About your first committee, your first suggestion, I believe Councilman Platter has that on his agenda already for his utility committee meeting.
Yep.
So that'll be something that he can discuss with his committee, and if you wouldn't mind putting on the, some discussion about the water sewer and sort of do a cost-benefit analysis. Obviously, the committee won't do that, but start to discuss that within your committee and then share it with the rest of us, that would be great.
Yes.
What sort of information would we be looking for to get out of that committee in order to determine whether or not we want to evaluate it and ask the public's opinion?
Well, I think between the two committees, like you said, they're going to need to see, how much we're spending, what we're doing, and then what we're looking at, right? Well, I mean, we can certainly weigh in on our opinion, but we would want to have an informed opinion on the costs and the benefits of that.
So we could start seeing some of the costs that we've paid for outside contractors to perform emergency repairs, the amount of time labor spent reading meters, billing, the cost of all that stuff. We'll have that summarized and be able to move forward and at least present it so we can determine whether or not to put it to the public for the ballot.
I don't think that's too much to ask at all.
What is our deadline for posing a question on the ballot?
I know the last time we did one, it was sometime in the summer when we put on the question regarding cannabis, so we're in January now. We've got a couple months at least.
And that would need to be approved by resolution or
I believe
ordinance?
it's an ordinance.
It would be ordinance, so we're looking at 2 meetings prior to that in order to have it approved in June to be put on the ballot. So we're looking at May, so we've got February, March, April.
I can get you an exact time frame.
So 3 months to get the information together so we could present it to the public? Okay. We covered old business. New business as well. Councilman Zambrana, you had brought up a great point, and I'm happy to see that we're already looking at the budget for this year, and I would respectfully request that we consider putting monies in there so that we can do a proper evaluation or title search for the trestle. And also monies for removal of the existing transformer that sits over there at our DPW yard, and the removal of that building as well. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else have any new business? Hearing none, I will close council comment and move on to audience comments. Does any member of, I have to read this. The public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's attention their concerns or comments. The council will respect the public's time by refraining any comment until the speaker has finished. It should be further noted that public comment portion of our meeting is not structured as a question and answer session. If a member of the public has any questions they seek answers to, an appointment can be made with the appropriate office during regular business hours or with a member of the council anytime. Please state your name and address for the record when you come to the podium. Yes.
Evening. Lee Weisenberger, 99 JFK Drive, Milltown. Quick question, Mr. Potter. Planning board meeting that's been moved?
Yes.
Planning board works the same as here, I believe. When you go, you can ask any question, irregardless of what they're discussing? Or is it just to their topic?
I believe it's just to the topic.
What's being addressed that evening?
All right, just at that evening, okay. This pertains to the pond, the dam. There seems to be an overlap between Ford Avenue and the planning board, because paperwork goes back and forth over time with that. And my question is the title search that I'm finding out was done by Mr. Borough pertaining to the pond, and it could possibly discuss the dam too, I don't know, but the pond would be important. If you could bring that up with Mr. Murata, possibly, and see if a title search does exist, You know, they referenced that they did it. I'm just curious if the town ever got a copy, if anybody got a copy of it, if anybody saw it from the planning board, or just took the word of Mr. Curley, I believe, is the lawyer for Mr. Berger, or for Mr. Borough, rather, yeah. So, pass that along. This question's for you, Mike. CME is the attorney for Ford Avenue? Or not the attorney, the engineer for Ford Avenue?
For the planning.
For the planning board?
That's right.
Okay. Over the years, has anything been brought up about riparian rights to the pond?
There is a riparian easement around the pond relative to the edge and how the permitting is required. That was done at the time the application was given.
So
And the applicant is basically conditioned upon getting the permits.
So if there's a riparian right, there's an owner.
Correct.
Who's the owner?
The owner of the pond?
Owner of the land, owner of the pond?
No,
They go together.
It depends on the piece of property. Now, you're talking about Ford Avenue. We always believed that the original factory owned the pond.
Okay,
Because it was created, we believe, now I wasn't around, I wasn't.
right? I agree.
But the pond was created as a irrigation and for their process water. In
Okay,
fact, the old water tank was filled, as we understand it, process water. They use it for process, well, for fire protection of the building.
okay, because out of the transcripts I've been reading and whatnot regarding this, I'm just trying to figure this out. If Mr. Berger, eventually that property gets sold, those riparian rights then would carry forth or would not?
Well, now you're getting
That
to the
seems to
point
be the big legal question here.
where you're talking about, we're engineers, our our expertise stops. Really, at that point, would become a search, title search company. Title company.
Once again, now, this is important, because if the county was to take possession of the land adjacent to the pond, then they would gain the riparian rights?
Well, I think you're speaking of the ability to utilize the pond for, as I said, the way the factory did is fire protection process water. So it would go with whoever the original heirs and assigns of the property were. So, there's long history of the title for that property and who actually owned it, when it was transferred to Michelin Tire and Rubber, whether or not it went to Alsol Knitting Mills. All these owners in line would be how you'd have to do that research.
Well, this is my point. I don't know how anybody can say anything else till this is found out, which goes back a ways, but unless, once again, what I've been reading, like I said, my understanding, like I said, yeah, originally riparian rights, but once again, there was only a little stream there. I believe Berger now still owns the land under the pond, like I said at that point, but when the original owner, Myers, second owner probably, but that gets a little, once again, going back. The grist mill put up some form of dam, but it was replaced, and it was replaced again by Michelin. But once again, to claim riparian rights when you built the dam for your use gets a little strange. So, like I said, I'm just trying to figure this out, because that has to be found out. Because I just can't see where you can give, riparian rights, boom, 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 down the line here. And from what I've seen on the state and some other sites, like you said, it comes down to a judge making the decision. Because apparently along the water everywhere like this, anybody that has property next to it, and I'm assuming upstream, downstream, they have riparian rights then into the water, or access to the water, where it was overflowed. And I'm curious then, even with the city of New Brunswick, when they built the dams and flooded it all the way, the 4 dams, just because they did that, now everybody has riparian rights. even though the city may own parkland next to it and stuff, it just gets all confusing. But, like I said, it all ties into Ford Avenue that, like I said, to me, this has to be settled. I don't know how anybody else can figure this out unless you go back into those deeds, like I said, way back, and start, figuring this. Like I said, if it can be passed, if it can't be passed, I don't know. Because like you said, it's just one of those things, but, I just don't want Mr. Berger walking away from this whole thing. And in a sense, I'm looking at, he could walk away and like still own the pond if this thing ever gets settled on Ford Avenue. So, like I said, it's a legal question, I'm sure, a whole bunch of different ways, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else have a comment? Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Mo Lenore, new resident. I reside at 132B South Main Street in Milltown. New Year to all of you, and congratulations on what's happening here. I'm very impressed with your town. I have some concerns about the situation with the Acme being closed and the new renovation possibly happening of the 190 unit under the, bear with me please, affordable housing overlay zoning.
Okay.
I don't know, can I talk about it here? Do I have to wait for the planning board? I will regress to you.
I was going to say, I'm just going to jump in because it is a pending application.
I know it is.
To the extent that it's a pending application before the board, I would typically counsel the council and mayor not to say anything about
To
it.
wait until, could I say what I'm concerned about?
You can certainly express your concerers,
Okay.
but none of these
No,
people
no,
are going to
that's
be voting
fine.
about it.
They don't have to answer anything. As long as I can express my concerns, it'll be on the public record.
Sure.
Okie dokie. I do have a couple questions first that I need to understand. Does Milltown have a municipal housing liaison? We're supposed to.
I believe we do. I think that's CGBH, or is that you specifically?
Well,
They're the
I'm the
outside
liaison
consultant,
to the
yeah.
housing, to the CV, yeah.
And the Superior Court of New Brunswick qualifies you as such?
No, I think
You
appointed
have
by,
to apply to the Superior Court of New Jersey for her to be.
I believe the liaison's designated by the borough. And
Okay.
it was
It's a new
part
law that just went into effect. That's why I'm asking.
Currently, the borough's second and third round affordable housing obligation still is pending. for the
Okay,
court. So
okay.
that
I'm
hasn't
just
been
bringing this all up because it's a
Sure.
new year. I don't want anything to slip through and you guys to get your hands slapped.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, do we have a representative for the affirmative marketing requirements?
We have someone who handles affirmative marketing.
Have they been certified by the Superior
No
Court
one
of the State
has,
of New
nothing's
Jersey?
been done yet because our second round obligation is still pending.
When is
before
the
court.
second round obligation done?
Whenever the court gets to it. It's
What
been
is the
kicking around.
projectile date?
Currently, I think that is part of the litigation currently pending before the court. So, I mean, to tell you that it hasn't been
Sometime in the
scheduled.
future, yeah.
It was scheduled in 2013, it was scheduled in
I
the
know.
intervening decade.
I read all
so-
the way back to 2003.
So-
I do thorough research before I even
understand.
ask a question. Okay.
So I could give you a date, but it's been moved so many
No,
times
it's
that.
fine. I can always call your office, maybe make an appointment in the future to ask a question or let your
You
secretary or
can certainly give me a
paralegal-
call and I'll answer any question I can.
Well, I have your email already, so don't worry about that.
Super.
Pursuant to the report submitted on 1/28/2019, prepared by Michael, I'm going to say his name incorrectly, Marginski. He was the zoning coding officer enforcing the survey that he did. And he did not survey Ryder's Lane due to it being at that time a commercially zoned area. And on the report, which I have on my iPad, he so marks it, and it's town records, You guys could look at it whenever you want. It specifically says, no survey needed or necessary due to no residential areas. So now we're going from the old residential. I've been here, Middlesex County, for over 50 years. Edison, Milltown, South Brunswick, and back to Milltown. So, kind of scares me. We're residential, it's all gone now. All in Ryder Lane, it's all business. Beautiful, I love it. I love what has happened here. But now we're losing a food store. We have senior citizens. I'm a member of the senior club, and they're worried. A lot of their husbands has died, as mine has. I am mobile, I can drive, I can walk. A lot of them can't. We do have the senior busing. They live in their family homes. What happens? We lose business, we lose revenue for the borough, a lot of revenue. Taxes are gonna come in, possibly, but will there be an abatement on the taxes? Will there be, I don't know what will be happening. So these are just questions I've got. Overburden of municipal revenue. If the houses go in, garbage pickup, recycling pickup, snow plowing, tree trimming, water mains, water consumption, borough electricity, on and on and on. Crowding in schools. What's gonna happen? We get 190 units and then only 200 children come in. Where are we putting them? What happens to our infrastructure for the education of our children, which are my grandchildren? What happens? Tax burdens? Can we say to the taxpayers, the voters, the seniors, the young kids up and coming, we can't buy you a book. We can't let you in that class. We need 33 kids in this class because we have 37 in this class. I'm worried. Traffic. There was just a vehicular death on Ryder Lane near Tice's this past week. 190 houses, units. That was one accident only. You're gonna have one ingress, one egress, and it so specifically states it, adjacent to Stratford. What's gonna go on with regard to someone doing an impact statement, an impact study? How many more kids are gonna have to be killed? Senior citizens, mothers, children. You guys gotta really think about these things. I'm the only person in this entire town worried about this. I hope to God not, and I'm new. I'm only back 5 months. When I see what has happened, it breaks my heart. Is there a conflict of interest with any board members? I'm not saying you guys, but I'm saying, is there any conflict with regard to any of the members that may know, may have an association with the Ariza Urban Renewal that wants to buy that? Has anyone made notification that there's a conflict of interest? Do we have any forms that we're going to have to ask party members to sign that there is no conflict of interest? These are deep questions. I'm getting scared. What if someone ties us up in court? We need the revenue. We need the variances. Turnpike Authority, have they been notified as of this morning? The answer is no. Okay. I'm not going to say anymore. I'll be back.
So, are you, I will just ask, and we're not going to comment, but.
No, that's fine.
Did you attend the planning board meeting last?
I wasn't able to. I'd broken my toe that night. I definitely am intending it.
I'll tell you
I'm going to see Carol tomorrow.
There's two things that the application is ongoing with the.
Correct.
To the planning board.
I mean, this may be a cloud in the sky.
So, and it ran long, but the traffic study, which you alluded to.
Carol has it.
It hasn't been presented yet, so it will be at the next one.
I'm just throwing these things out there. Oh, no, I have another 50 to 100. But I'm not taking anyone's time. Thank you for your time. And I'll send you an email, I'll send you a list.
And I will let you know if I can answer those.
You're a very educated man. Thank you
very
very, very
that is
much.
true.
I will say that what we'd like to do, and you know, that we want to get the information out to folks, it's an ongoing application to the planning board. However, regarding the overlay zones and the affordable housing, one of the questions that we get a lot is what, you know, I don't think there's a good understanding of why we have to do overlay zones.
I totally understand. I've been in law for 47 years,
All right,
so believe me
well,
when I
that's
tell
great.
you.
So you're ahead
You
of-
do also know this has to go before the voting public.
What do you mean?
Aspects of this have to go before the voting public. Portions of it, yes, it does.
Ma'am, I didn't say anything.
No, but what I was gonna,
I'll send it to you in an email.
all I was gonna say is that, you know, I have been, asked a lot of questions as well about things, and
You
I
guys
don't
have
think
your
that it
hands
would.
full. I'm not taking
No,
no more of your time.
I have mentioned that I don't think it would be I think it would be a good idea to have a town hall so that people
Thank
can
you.
come and get
I
the
like you.
information and
I voted
ask
for
all
you.
the questions and find out not only about, mainly about the new one, but Ford Avenue, because one of the
Yeah.
things that we've encountered for years is that every time something new happens, people will say, even when I was going around, going door to door, why can't you make a ice skating rink, or why can't, you know, but that ship sailed with the redevelopment agreement 20 years ago. So it's something that, once this gets, you know, it's in the planning board now, but we can certainly put something on the calendar
I
to
like
have
your
a
idea,
town
I
hall.
think it's good. I keep in touch with the senior citizens,
Yeah,
I'm
we
a
don't-
member
yeah.
over there, because a lot of them don't understand it. I'm able to calm them down and explain it to them.
yeah,
I
and they
love
get-
them over
yeah,
there.
And we don't want people to be fearful.
No,
We
but
don't.
they are.
Yeah.
They're 80 and they're 90. I
We want to help
understand
people
it.
understand why.
Debbie and I have a good rapport, Debbie Cuddy, and I- believe me.
Right, but we want people to understand
Yeah,
what
thank
we as a council can and can't do,
Yeah.
what we as a town can and can't do, and also what the planning board can and can't do.
Anything in life is possible if you want it bad enough, and you can work, it may take 20 years to get it. You can get it if you really want it, believe me. I have fought so many battles, and I've won some, lost some, and I broke even on some, but it's all been fun. Thank you for letting
Thanks for your
me speak
comment.
before you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else have any, comments? Yes?
Sorry, my English is broken. Good evening, everybody. Yep, I'm new here. I'm a renter.
Can you
Please state your name and address for the record.
Sorry, my name is Alex.
And address?
Address 22 Clay Street.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, what was it?
22 Clay.
Street.
And your
Yeah.
last name, Alex?
Al-Kayali. Al-Kayali. Yeah, it's a Middle East name. Anyhow, actually, I came from Dubai. I have a business to run here, and I'm so glad to live in Milltown. So actually, we are like a single family, me and my wife and 3 kids. And my wife, she's pregnant. Also, I came here on behalf of 5 families, 5 houses. We all living in a 22 Clay Street, and unfortunately, these houses do not have a driveway. So we're suffering every single day, especially from 2:30 to 3:30, from parents from Joyce Kilman. So like I'm putting my kids, my wife in danger, snowing, raining, black ice, I don't know what is it. So every single day my wife, she's barking like 2 blocks away from my house, putting my kids in danger, putting my cars away from my house, and even every single day my wife leaving my kids. I don't know, like I think the story is, you know what is going on there. So I've been talking to.
It's an ongoing thing. Margaret, can you just bring that to the attention of the public safety?
Certainly,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And so especially my wife, she's carrying 3 backpacks, kids crossing the streets. I don't care if the people parking anywhere, it's illegal. But we like the whole area is packed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the police are aware, but
Yeah,
she'll make a mention of it.
So the concern is that people are parking illegally?
No,
Or in legal spots that are?
Illegal, but the houses doesn't have driveway. So I can't.
Yeah, well, that unfortunately we can't address.
The
But
only
we can,
time-
follow up with the police.
Yeah, actually, I went to the police recommend me to come here in the meeting. Sorry?
I was thinking it's like a traffic study for that pattern you're saying over there, Trina, like?
No, just because it's been an issue with people idling there during pickup and
okay.
drop-off.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. So, because the houses do not have a driveway, so even, only we have houses, like, do not have a driveway. Only the small, just like, I'm asking for, let's say, a sign, so only for that time to this time. Because the whole, like park anyway, just leave us a space. You know what I mean? Like, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
That might be something that zoning wants to take a look at too. Five families and one home on 22 Clay, if I heard that correctly?
Is that the corner?
No, it's mid-block.
Oh. Where on Clay is it?
And the place where the small, where is the 4th Avenue? At the end. This is like small.
You said 22?
22 places.
Okay.
At the end with the corresponding with the 4th Avenue.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will close audience comments and move on to council comments. Does any member of the council have any final comments before us this evening?
Yes, Madam Mayor. You want to go ahead, Dave?
Go ahead.
No, it's okay, yes. I just wanted to say, in the resolution number 55, I want to thank Mr. Parks for his service and his sacrifice for our country, because he was a disabled vet. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Brian Sudo for joining the Milltown Fire Department. That concludes my report. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'd also like to congratulate Corporal Hafter and Sergeant Rockingham for their well-deserved promotions and their service to the Milltown Police Department as well.
Agreed. Anyone else?
3 quick ones.
Sure.
And James, I'm sorry, I heard this. I know you're the rec liaison. I'm going to throw it out there. Just a little apology to some of the parents. I know that things have vastly improved in the recreation department with getting schedules out there. This week started rec basketball, and I understand that the schedules, the team lineups did come out a little late, albeit for a good reason. Well, twofold. The good side is that we had a tremendous amount of people sign up this year. Last year, the group that I coached, we had a total of 20 kids. This year, it's 40. So, big improvement. But with that comes the trouble of finding coaches. So with all the additional signups, some of them being late, and we want to accommodate, there is a juggling of schedules trying to fit coaches with teams and rosters. So the rec department did apologize for that delay. It's not the norm, but keep in mind, we're just trying to accommodate all the needs of the students and get everyone involved. My second comment tonight, the mayor brought up calendars. The library still has a few calendars left for sale. I don't know if they're going to have all the details of the borough's calendar on there, but they're from the library. They're pretty, and they are available. And last thing, while the mayor brought up obtaining portraits of mayors, past, present, hopefully not future, but we do have placards outside, which could also be updated. There's quite a few council members who have served and since moved on whose names are missing from that recognition. So I think we should do that as well.
Yeah, so they should be updated. That's just the course of business. But, so you see we have a lot of blank walls here. I have my office there. I have some paintings. And, while I'm thrilled to honor Mayor Bradford, to be fair, there were a lot of other mayors that have served too. So originally it was just going to be Mayor Bradford, and then I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice to have everybody else in here? So Stever, Graulich, I don't know how far back we can go, and that's sort of why I said, let me see if I can do a little legwork on it first, because, some of them, I don't know if they still have relatives here, but we'll work on it, and it would be nice to have them watching over us here as we conduct our council meetings. So, we'll see. I mean, we'll do our best I'm not saying that we'll get everybody, but we'll try.
Former Mayor Whitman, is he mayor as well?
Jack?
Yeah. Right?
Whitman, well, it's funny because my family has delved deep into Milltown history because I gave my children the History of Milltown book for Christmas, and they think it is really cool, and there is a lot of old-time information there. So I will just take the book and go through the list and see who we can get pictures from. So we had a meeting with the Historical Society before, and I said I have potential new members because everybody's really into the whole Milltown history. So anyway, anyone else have any comments? All right, seeing none, I will close council comments. And now we have an executive session. May I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 72, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilwoman O'Donnell. The Borough Council will now be entering an executive session. The public will be excluded from this portion of the meeting to permit the Borough Council to consider matters appropriate for discussion in such a session. The Borough Council will briefly convene into the municipal conference room and thereafter will return to the meeting room and to open session. At this time, I'd like to defer to our attorney Vignolo for an explanation of the subject matter.
Sure, the subject matter is pending litigation, specifically Ford Avenue, and no action will be taken by the council following the closed session.
Okay.
Thank you. And before we actually adjourn to the room, can I take the roll call for that resolution?
Oh, sorry, Mimi.
That's
Yes,
okay.
my mistake.
No problem. But I just want to get it on the record. Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilor Valinsky?
Aye.
Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks.
All right, so we will leave.
Take a 2-minute recess?
I got you. Thank you all. If you'd like to stay, we'll be back. If not, since there's no action, you feel free to leave. Thanks, everyone.